That has been one of the single problems of having bad policy. And the American people see this. No matter how much you claim Republicans, this is what we're in, and this is now.
You make an interesting point, and I'd like to revisit it another time when we have more time, but I do want to just say this. What you are pointing to about good versus bad policy and the connection that it has to our economic indicator on Wall Street, because that's all it is. It's just one indicator. It certainly doesn't indicate where the jobs are going to come from or when people are going to get off government assistance in that sense. Unemployment numbers are going to start to wane and all of that. It's just one indicator. But it's interesting what you say, that good versus bad policy then has a trickle effect in world markets. It's fascinating.
And I think it's why the market has gone up.
Well, on the Wall Street. I'm sorry, go ahead.
Well, the market was in free fall, of course, under George Bush, like the economy was in free fall. And when you talk about policy, let's talk about the very first thing President Obama did, because it wasn't health care. It was the stimulus package. Our economy was in the biggest free fall since Republican, yes, Herbert Hoover balanced the budget in the middle of a depression.
Democrats agree this weekend on how the stimulus package worked?
The stimulus package worked very well.
Some say
it needed more. It needed more. But if you may remember what had happened, Harris, there were 3 Republicans at the time that insisted on cutting aid to the states. Obama wanted to give about $80 billion to the states. The Republicans said, we will not break our filibuster unless you give only $40 billion to the states. The people who really need the money right now are the states. If your state government is raising taxes on you,
because the money was not
going. They did go for the 40. They took the 40, and the 40 went to the states. But here's the thing: if they are raising taxes in your home state right now, that's the Republicans' fault. If they are cutting spending in your state, hold on, David. Let me finish.
No, New Jersey.
That 40 has gone out, but the states are in free fall because here's the difference. States most of them have to balance their budget. The federal government, as you know, can print money. But most states, like the Commonwealth of Virginia, where I live, they have to balance their budget.
Every state actually has to do that by law.
When you have hard times, that means that states pay out more in things like unemployment benefits, and they get less in taxes.
Right.
So in order to balance their budget, in hard times, in a recession, they have to do what Herbert Hoover did unless they get federal aid. They have to either raise taxes or cut government benefits, fire teachers, fire firefighters. Now, the Republicans supported that. They said, we want those teachers fired, we want those police officers fired, we want more unemployment rather than giving aid to the states.
Mark,
they didn't say that, but here's the thing. It's basic economics, and no economist.
You are not an economist, Mark.
I am an economist. I have a degree.
You obviously
magna cum laude in Harvard in economics.
Well, you know what? Actually,
let me tell you the economic point, and then you can dispute it. Because you haven't let me
I can actually prove it factually wrong.
Well, let me tell you the economic point. It's very simple. In bad times, government spending stimulates the economy. You going to dispute that?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely.
I got to tell you, the guy I studied with was chairman of the Council of Economic Advisors under Ronald Reagan, Martin Feldstein.
Yeah.
He agreed with that. Name for me one economist that disagrees.
I have one name for you. I have one name for you that maybe will get you guys to come together. Ben Bernanke. If there's so much confidence in what stimulus spending will do, why is that guy?
Well, here's the problem with this.
Why is he in trouble? He may not be around anymore.
I think he'll make it, but the economy is in trouble. When the economy is in trouble, people are angry.
Okay, but I'm
they're out against all incumbents.
When your guy was running.
Yes.
So why wasn't that
he can't magically heal an economy in 1 year.
This is what I love. This is what I love about
to deal with Herbert Hoover. It takes time when you have the worst recession in American history since the Great One.
From an emailer.
Yeah.
All this Bush bashing is bringing me back to the elections that happened a year ago. Ask the Democrat on the panel, and that would be Mark Levine, when it will be Obama's fault, please. Obama needs to get off this health care and start working on creating American jobs. Actually, you agree with that.
Well, no, I don't agree he needs to get off health care. I think he can walk and chew gum at the same time. He can do health care and jobs. It's really sad that the Republicans cut the stimulus package because every teacher, every firefighter, everyone that's still got a job in the States... It would have.
Harris. There are so many.
Are you aware that Walmart this morning is laying off more than 11,000 people?
I'm sure they are.
Okay, and all I heard out of the White House is we want to help the middle class. Hello.
Harris, if I could actually get a word in.
You have to spend some dollars, and to do that, the Republicans are going to have to stop their policy of no.
Wait a minute.
If I could actually get a word in about some factual inaccuracies here.
Hold on 1 second. Let me ask you this, David. Because David will keep everybody honest on this. And this is where I was so confused with the $40 million. For the states. $40 billion for the states. I thought that only a portion of the stimulus money had been spent.
That's the first point.
That's still out there. So before we ask for more, why don't we spend the rest of what we already allocated?
Because they don't allocate to states.
Again, if I could answer the question, that's part of the problem. Second part of the problem is factual, is what was written in the stimulus bill. The allocation of that money was to go to teachers, unions, firefighters, police, all the typical points. Not that we don't want firefighters, police, and teachers to have jobs. They certainly do. But this was a payback to the unions. A lot of that money that was already put out. I'll use New Jersey as the example, where I've actually exposed the fraud and waste in a $4 billion fraud in education. For example, where Governor Corzine, who adheres strictly to policies like the president, has left the state with what they've now found, another $1.3 billion in debt that was kind of fluffily put away. Mark falls back on a lot of arguments to Hoover and other presidents. They're very flowery and they sound good.
It's a
the fact is that when you do the math behind the application of stimulus dollars, behind the Recovery Act, and you go to recovery.gov and you see what's actually been done, and you see where it's been allocated, it simply has not been put towards wealth creation. And there is a difference between job creation and wealth creation. Wealth creation are policies that grow capital, that grow corporations, that grow small businesses, that give them tax breaks that allow them to work and allow them to flourish. If they don't flourish, they can't hire. But if you just take money and you print it, Mark's right about one thing. The government can print money. That's all they can do. The government cannot create wealth. They can prop up when necessary if they apply it properly. He's right about that. But they cannot create wealth. And what we've done is we have seen a loss of wealth in the United States. And the fact is that wealth doesn't come back immediately. We're due for another bubble with commercial real estate. That is the next one. We're due for several more hits, which are unfortunate, but they're going to happen. Yeah. And unless we build wealth back into the economy, and which does include overseas investment, we will not see any growth. And by the way, false notion. Don't look at the Dow. It's 30 companies. Look at the NASDAQ. If you want to look at a U.S. market that reflects the world economy better. So a lot of people use the Dow as the meter. The NASDAQ is the true meter. From a pure business point of view, volume, investment, and different strategies.
Yeah, and I have read during the recession that the NASDAQ really held together its volume numbers a lot better than the Dow as people were exiting the Dow. But, I mean, I guess that's because it's so much the Dow.
Well, the Dow has global corporations for the most part, and they interact on a larger percentage with the global economic community. So they will see things differently. If there is a drop in the foreign markets in Asia on Sunday when they open, you'll see a lot of it roll over to the Americas markets, including the southern continent. If you see Germany like Frankfurt, the FTSE in London, and a lot of the other exchanges react, they react to those global companies first. The NASDAQ reacts on a much different level.
Here's what I find fascinating. In all of David's long description, he acts like, well, these hits are going to happen, our economy is going to fall, these corporations. He doesn't talk about what caused our economy to fall in the first place. And that was the failure of the United States government to regulate these credit derivative swaps, basically big companies getting really big, so big they were too big to fail. It was the main thing. It was the main. No,
it was corporations. It was corporations.
It was straight thing. But here's the thing.
Homes via Fannie and Freddie
that they couldn't afford.
No, actually, you can see under the community.
A lot of Americans.
Here's something, Harris, to look up on the Community Reinvestment Act. The thing that Republicans are always complaining about. The thing helped Americans get homes. 201. Banks that acted under that law made fewer risky loans than the banks that acted under the unregulated free market system. Here is the Republican plan. It's very simple. We want corporations to be as big as possible, as powerful as possible. We want special interests like pharmaceutical companies and oil companies to be as powerful as possible. The Supreme Court has now said, in fact, that we are not American citizens anymore. They are. They are superior American citizens.
No, they haven't actually.
More
the
rights.
decision.
They have more rights than we do.
I didn't
because
read it that way.
Well, no. Here's what the
he
decision
didn't
said.
read it apparently
I read
either.
all 183 pages.
I got to wrap you up, Mark. We'll have you back.
I want to talk about this decision because I want to worship our new Exxon corporate overlord, since they have more power, 30 times more power than all of Americans put together. One corporation.
We'll have you back.
All right, we'll talk
David
about that.
Webb, Mark Levine. I had glimpsed that perhaps you guys had met.
We've been down this road before.
Mark's put them in separate elevators.
Mark's fundamentally wrong, but he's a good guy to argue with.
All right. Thank you so very much for being here.
I agree with you on that. You're fundamentally wrong, but a good guy to argue with.
And I know that there are some of you out there who have even said, wow, Mark Levine is speaking your truth. For the Democrats out there, you guys are pulling away from the independents, according to the emails. And my email's starting to look a lot like Massachusetts voting bloc. It's an interesting position that your party is in right now, and the tone is different out of the White House.
Listen, I think 59 is pretty good. It's not as good as 60,
Percentage?
but it's better than the Republicans have had since the 1920s.
Oh, you mean numbers of
numbers of senators. And if Republicans would just work with us, we could do the change and hope people vote for it.
Okay, I'm going to let you go. Matt is going to relieve you of your microphone,
Fair
gentlemen,
enough.
and we are going to welcome in